Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Guest appearance, Travis Shompole. I hope you guys are having a nice evening, afternoon, or whatever, whenever you're listening to this podcast. All I like to say is, believe in what you can do in your dreams and shoot for the stars. You know, so if you miss, you land on a cloud. Hashtag Kanye, you feel me? But yeah, that's about it, though. You know, have a good one. Leave the laugh at the end.
I got you.
First,
Yes. Those were motivational words from my little brother. Welcome to WYNI with me, Lydia Shompole. As you can tell, I was recording this episode while I was back home for Thanksgiving. So I have a few cameos in here. My little brother, Travis Shompole, as well as my sister, Natasha Shompole, are in this episode, just in the background. So yeah, enjoy. I spent my entire Saturday at the TEDx Seattle event, which I had the pleasure of attending, and there were 16 great speakers who covered topics such as how to handle political conversations when you voted for different candidates, how theater and the arts can create safe spaces for expression and opportunities that unite individuals from vastly different backgrounds, and even how trees have deeply rooted symbiotic networks where they exchange nutrients and support each other's growth and health. I had such an amazing time, and I thought that I would do a quick guide on how to survive going to events by yourself. But first off, I'd like to talk about my favorite parts of the event and just a couple of the things that blew my mind. And there's a ton, but I just focused on a few. So the first speaker that just put things into perspective for me was Celeste Headlee. She is an award-winning journalist who has appeared on NPR, PBS World, PRI, CNN, and NBC. BBC and other international networks. Her TED Talk is available on TED.com, and I've posted links to all of the TED Talks on my website as well as in the show notes, so check that out if you want to listen to the whole talk. One of the tips that she gave that stood out the most is that we need to diversify our social and professional circles. As I listened to her speaking, it dawned on me that out of all of the people I interact with at work and outside of work, I can only name about a handful of people who support a different political party. And even worse, once I realized that they did not support my political party, I automatically assumed that they must be ignorant or that they must identify strongly with all of the negative stereotypical character traits of the opposite party. So what she advised was that you should try and reach out and have a conversation where your first reaction when a person says something that you don't agree with is genuine curiosity. It shouldn't be that they must be ignorant or that they must be stupid and all of these other things. Just try to understand where they're coming from. Try to ask about their experiences or their sources that led them to these opinions. Refrain from name-calling and walking away in anger, and do your own research. Make sure that the way you think isn't because of the information you're collecting from Facebook or mainstream media. One of the biggest problems currently when dealing with collecting information and forming opinions is that the mainstream media sources actively use methods that are specifically meant to create anxiety and encourage the production of misinformation. They condense and oversimplify information to assure that you are misinformed about crucial aspects of the world. And remember that it's so easy to turn a blind eye to things that you don't agree with or have never heard of. But by doing the hard work and knowing why you stand up for something, it can mean the difference between being on the right side or the wrong side of history. Another thing that I got from the event was Leslie Hazelton. She is a recipient of the Stranger's Genius Award in Literature and a former Middle East correspondent for Time, the New York Times, and others. One of the things that definitely intrigued me the most about her talk was how she discussed mortality. She explained the different types of individuals and how humankind continually tries to outsmart or outpace death in every way. From taking dozens of multivitamins and supplements a day to living safely and avoiding adventure. You must hear her story about her close brush with death in the driver's side of a race car. The idea of dying intelligently most definitely made me giggle while sitting all by myself in the audience. finally, there was Suzanne Simard. I think I pronounced that right. Her research focuses on the relationships between plants, microbes, soils, carbon, and nutrients that basically affect the entire ecosystem. Through her research, she found that trees have symbiotic relationships with the fungus called mycorrhiza. Is that how you say it?
Mycorrhiza? I don't know.
I think it's mycorrhiza.
Mycorrhiza?
Yeah, that's what it is. Mycorrhiza assists plants in bringing nutrients to the roots of plants and trading those nutrients for carbon. Apparently, trees can send signals to other trees when they're sick or fighting infections, and can even recognize their own seedlings and send nutrients to them specifically. Suzanne and her team have found evidence that trees have created root structures that form a network underground that connects entire sections of forests. Incredibly, her research and findings were not well received in the early years and resulted in some backlash from others in her field. So all in all, this was a very interesting event and very enlightening, and through it all, I basically had to continue picking my jaw up off the ground. So, now, on to the tips for adventuring solo. These include a couple of kind of basic ones. So number one would be, when searching for events, try to go to ones that you don't know much about. So if you always go to science and technology events, try something new like the arts. Most cities offer a first Thursday of the month event where they have art shows. They show artwork in galleries or even museums, and they also have things like wine tasting events, and sometimes they even showcase local musicians. If you are a student, you can get a student discount, so make sure you look for that. And if you don't find it on their website, just send them an email and ask about it, because there usually is a student discount or a free event. Okay, so number two, don't be afraid to ask for questions and meet speakers. If you see an opportunity to have conversations with others from the audience or even the main speakers, go for it. Look for ideas or opinions that you hear and want to know more about, and write them down. Just always carry a journal with you. The worst thing someone can say to you is, no, I don't want to explain my opinion, and most likely that's not going to happen, so just go for it. Number three, plan a little time afterwards for you to digest the event and information. I know when I hear new ideas or opinions, it takes me a bit of time afterwards to do the research on my own and form my own opinions. So that's definitely important. One of the things that I do try to do is I carry a notebook with me, and that really helps me organize ideas or concepts as they stream in. I found that being able to write down a quick thought as it passes through my mind comes in handy when I sit down a couple weeks later to work on my own projects or research my own topics. Especially since it's so easy for me to get distracted and forget those little things that I hear on a day-to-day basis. So definitely have something to write on. Alright, thank you so much for listening to What You Need When You Need It with me, Lydia Shompole, and that's all I have for you this week. So hopefully these will help you on your next adventure, and please, if you haven't already, subscribe on iTunes, and the weekly episodes can be downloaded and be there ready for you every Friday. And if you liked it, please leave a review so others can know what to do or what to expect. Thank you, and tune in next Friday.